Hey everybody, welcome to part 3 of my Candid Cards, the collectible card game tutorials. Again, just an open look through the various things of the game, and today I'm going to go and dive through the deck construction or the deck structure. Not actually building the decks, because that's a whole different topic, more advanced for later on, but just in general what the rules are around how decks are built. So when you open the game and you go into your card collection, as you know, you're allowed up to 10 decks here. And so I'll just delete this one here so you can see an open slot. And so when you see an open slot, you have the plus. And so using this plus, I can go ahead and start to build my new deck. You see the first, you get to choose your primary nation. And so you don't see France or Italy here because they can't be primary. They're only ally nations, or allegiance as they're called. So from here you pick your primary nation. Depending on whatever strategy you want to take, or maybe you're going for a specific field marshal or to rank up, you pick whatever primary nation you want. Then you get the choice of your ally nation. And from here you'll see France and Italy show up, and you can pick any other nation as your ally nation, but you can't pick the same nation, so you can't do just Britain and have a full deck of just Britain. You got to pick another nation, and keeping in mind that you're only allowed 12 cards from your ally nation. The deck is made up of 40 cards. One card is your HQ, so you have 39 other cards that are either units, orders, countermeasures, or whatnot, and 12 cards come from your ally nation. And the other important rule to note is that you cannot use elite cards from your ally nation in your deck. You can only use elites from your main nation. So that's just another constraint to be aware of when you're building your deck. So let's just go with the Britain USA deck. Now it brings us into the deck construction screen. And so in here, lots of different options. Looks very familiar to your regular collection screen, except at the bottom, instead of having your own cards, it's actually your deck. So on the left here, there's the default card that matches with your nation that you picked as your main nation. You click on that. If you've either bought or unlocked other backings, you can change your backing just by clicking on that. And we'll stay with the basic one. Your HQ is here by default. There's no other HQs to choose from at this point. Maybe they'll make more down the road, but right now, if you're Britain, you're going to be Alexandria. That's your only choice. So down here, I could rename my deck by clicking on the edit pencil, and I could just call this demo deck, for example. And now I'll be able to identify it back on my other screen of 10 decks as the one that is my demo deck, or maybe it's my Power Britain deck, or whatever you want to call it, so you know which one it is later at a glance. So when we went through the cards tutorial in the last video, we talked about the types of cards and how many you could have in your collection. That's directly linked to how many of those cards you could put in your deck. So as you can see, I have 4 standard cards here. I have 4 copies of Overwhelming Force in my collection. If I wanted to put these into my deck, simply drag and drop them down. This is all, if you want to read the details, click on it. It tells you about everything that it does. But in general, this is all a drag and drop exercise in order to build your deck. I could drop it down. You can see as I drop a card in, it tells me that I have 2 copies out of 4 in the deck that are assigned to my deck because of the turned page over sort of thing here, where the card is shaded only halfway instead of full. So a full shaded card here means I don't have any of these in my deck, but as soon as I drop one in, it'll show that I have 1 out of 4 in my deck. And likewise with the specials, and also with the elites. So basically, that's all there is to building the deck in terms of putting the cards in the deck. Of course, there's a lot more thought that has to go behind it, and all the same filtering parameters are available here. One main difference you'll see is that it has the only 2 icons here for the nations, because you only need to worry about Britain and USA. Those are the ones I picked as my main nation and my ally nation. And again, I could show all. You can construct cards on the fly from here if you wanted to. If you decide you want to throw this in, you could just hit create card here if you have the resources for it, and then throw it into your deck. You can filter this by all sets, the base set, or the Allegiance set, which was the first expansion that cards released, if you're looking for specific cards in those sets to add to your deck. So down here at the bottom, it'll show you how many cards you have in your deck. So there's a maximum of 40, as we said before, where the first card is always going to be your HQ, and you're only allowed a maximum of 12 from your ally nation. So as you can see down here, it shows my main nation. I have 2 cards in my deck, and my ally nation, I have only 3 already, and there's always this nice reminder you can only have 12, and what they should add there is you're not allowed elites, and in fact you won't even get the option. The elites are filtered up here. You won't see them as an option to pull in your deck anyways, so it won't cause you that aggravation of trying to put it in and realizing that you can't. And again, you could filter by your unit types and everything at the top. An interesting thing to look at is your deck statistics. So this gives you good information about how your deck is going. Depending on what style of game you want to play, if you're going to be really aggressive or maybe a mid-range, long game, or controlling or whatever, this gives you good information. It tells you how many units you have in your deck, the breakdown of your cards at the top by nation and total number of cards, the number of units you have, the number of orders you have, and at the bottom across all that bar graphs there, it's showing you the average the cost per card, how many you have basically relative to the other costs. It doesn't exactly say how many, but it just shows relatively how many you have. So if I were to go and get some more expensive cards in here, drop some 3s in here, and drop some 4s, drop some 9s and some 7s, and you go back and look at it, it just starts to fill it in and gives you an idea of how many of each cost type you have in your deck. So if you wanted to play a really aggressive deck that needed to move quickly and you're trying to kill your opponent in the first 5 or 6 turns, you're probably not going to want many 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in your costing cards in your deck, because you'll never get to them and they're too expensive. And so this is called your cost curve, and it gives you a good representation of sort of how your deck will play. So it's pretty useful to look at when you're building your deck, especially during draft, because there's some important concepts in draft that you should follow, I guess, in terms of how this should look, so that you could have more chance of being successful in your draft battles. So that's pretty much everything there is to do in here in terms of building your deck. So I won't go into actually building a deck here because that's more advanced topic, but this is just to give you a general idea of how you go about deck building and what the rules are involved. Any thoughts about this stuff, drop it in the comments below. If you're liking the tutorials, give it a follow. You get notified when I upload the next tutorials. And if you have any other questions and stuff I want to fill in, you want me to fill in, just let me know. I'll definitely add that into subsequent videos. All right, thanks a lot for watching.